And now joining me with more on Yom Hazikaron, Vice President for External Relations at the IDC Herzliya, Jonathan Davis. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, you served in the Yom Kippur War in 1973. What are you feeling this year on Yom Hazikaron, especially as we start to exit from the coronavirus crisis?
What I'm feeling is that on a solemn day like this, the state of Israel, all of the people in Israel need to unite. And when we hear the siren tonight at 8 o'clock in the evening, we need to forget about our political differences, our differences in religion, economics, national characteristics of different people. We just all have to unite and remember that this country of ours was not achieved on a silver platter, and that almost 24,000 youngsters sacrificed their lives so that we could be where we are today. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. The second thing that comes to my mind is my friends and comrades who were killed in action in missions before the Yom Kippur War and during the Yom Kippur War. So that's what really comes to my mind.
Do you have maybe a specific story from your service that holds particular significance for you on Yom Hazikaron?
One story which I have, which actually, in my view, deals with the unity of the Jewish people, happened to me because I was actually a lone soldier in a paratrooper reconnaissance unit, and I never really had a place to live. And the Ministry of Absorption, after a lot of nagging, found me a room in some kind of a tenement in Kiryat Yovel in Jerusalem. It was a building full of new immigrants who had just come from Georgia. And they came from a totally different way of life. So light bulbs would be missing in the hallways, and sometimes fuses in the fuse boxes, and sometimes there would be garbage strewn from the balcony onto my laundry in the few days that I actually got to come back for a Shabbat or something like that. And so my relationship with the people in the building was not a good relationship. I was quite angry at the fact that here I had come from California and came from a different way of life, and these people came from a different way of life, and we were worlds apart. And then the Yom Kippur War broke out. And when the Yom Kippur War broke out, under who was then Captain Shaul Mofaz, we went very deep into Syrian territory, participated in missions which we could have easily not have come back alive from. And afterwards, we also crossed the Suez Canal and endangered our lives at the time. And I had literally left the apartment building for at least 4 months before I actually had a chance to come back. And I finally came back to the building, I think after 4 or 5 months, when we got our first leave to come back to Israel from Egypt. And I come back to the building and I see that my mailbox has been painted red in a very rudimentary fashion. And all of the envelopes of my mail are like gooey and kind of like sticking together. And this is really aggravating because there were no emails in those days. There were no WhatsApps. There was only snail mail and airmail. And so there used to be an old man who sat in the front of the building, kind of like the godfather of the Georgian community in that building. He would be sitting there and drinking tea with Nana. And I think people used to come up to him and ask him for his advice. So I came up to him with my messed up letters, all full of red. And I said to him, look, what do you guys personally have against me? Okay, I can understand you've taken light bulbs, you've done this, you've done that. We don't get along, but now why are you singling me out? And he said, well, young man, you were the only person in this building who we saw had a uniform and we saw went to war. So we painted your mailbox red so that the angel of death would skip over your threshold. Wow. Just like the story of Passover, that the firstborns of the Jewish people were spared. At which moment, I had a flashback, thinking in terms of how many times could I have been killed in that war? And wait a second, these folks who seem so simple to me, okay, basically the blood that runs in their veins is the same blood that runs in my veins. And their Jewish tradition goes back for thousands of years, as does mine. At that moment, I simply embraced this old man and he embraced me. Wow. And I was thankful for being alive. And till this day, I'm not sure that if their little painting of my mailbox didn't have something to do with that. And the point of the matter was that from that moment on, the ice broke and I started becoming friendly with the rest of the people in the building. And I respected them for their Jewish tradition and for being who they really are. And it didn't really matter, okay, if I used to mow the lawn in my house in California, or if we had better freeways from where they came from. In the end, that was the best lesson I could ever have received about the unity of the Jewish people.
Jonathan Davis, thank you so much for sharing that story, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and well over Memorial Day, and after Memorial Day, let us rejoice on Independence Day,
Absolutely.
and take this solemn day for the sake of unity. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.